By the end of this video, you're going to understand the connection between optimism and contrarianism, and you're going to know how to implement both of them in your life. To misquote the great Mitch Hedberg, I used to be a huge optimist. I still am, but I used to too. But to understand why I used to be an optimist, how I stopped, and how I am again, let's go back about 10 years. When I decided that it would be a good idea to become a contrarian. You see, I realized that the world was so crazy and so wound up about everything and so wrong about everything that I might be well served to just automatically consider the opposite opinion or position that the world had on any given topic. And I learned that this is a position or a strategy that's called being a contrarian, and sort of just automatically taking the contrary position opposite from what the world or the crowd thinks. This is a known thing called contrarianism, and I didn't realize that, but that's what I was going to start to practice and try out. And as it turns out, the world, the crowd, has a very negative outlook on a lot of things. So when I would see the default position of the crowd or the world be, oh, this sucks or that sucks, I would default to a contrarian position and say, oh, that's awesome, or that's cool. Even when you hear some bad news, I would try to default to, well, let me try to say, okay, why would that be good? Why would that be awesome? Why would that be cool? It kind of forces you in to start looking for the silver lining, looking for the positive side of something, which by definition is optimism. So by trying to take a contrarian position, I accidentally turned myself into quite the optimist. And I was cruising along pretty happy with this optimistic, upbeat, positive outlook. But at a certain point, I unfortunately ran up against a person in my professional life above me in rank who, let's just say, they had the ability to squeeze the optimism out of you. They were a negative person, but they also were in a level of control and power. And I kind of lost my optimism for a while. So I ran through a little bit of a rough patch. What I look back on now, I kind of call it going through the wilderness. And it was temporary. It was, 3 or 4 years. But when I came out of that situation and back into a more positive environment, positive group of people to work with, I realized that I had lost my optimism. I had lost that positive outlook. And without trying to go straight into pure contrarianism and running against the crowd, I decided to try to just regain the pure optimism side of things again. Well, as it turned out, and I didn't realize this until I tried it, you can will yourself to optimism. You can force yourself to start trying to intentionally think of the positive side of things, the silver lining, the bright side. This is a pretty steep hill. This is, by the way, I'm at Vista View Park, which is built on an old landfill. There's these trails that go up this hill. I looked it up before I came here on the Broward County website, and the park's website says it's 65 feet in elevation. And it also claims to be the highest point in Broward County. Now, I don't see how 65 feet can be the highest point if you count skyscrapers, because there's more than 6-story tall buildings, in Fort Lauderdale. I think there's like 30-story buildings in Fort Lauderdale, which would be 300 feet. So this must be like the highest elevation in Broward that's, ground that you can walk on. And there's lots of trails. You can drive all the way to the top. By the way, there is parking all the way at the top, and you can just drive up here and park and get out and look around. But There's restrooms. There's a remote control airplane, RC airfield over here, which they're probably not flying things today because it's overcast and very windy, but I could be wrong, maybe they are. It's a pretty neat park though. It's just crowded. A lot of people, not good if you're embarrassed to talk in front of people to your camera. That's me. But getting embarrassed is good for me, remember? Seek out ways to be embarrassed. This is one. It's also right in the flight path. This is right where airliners coming into Fort Lauderdale Airport come out, and right here over the Everglades, where we're on the edge of the Everglades, they turn around and fly over. So there's a ton of airplanes. So I am your proof that with some intentional thinking and some intentional willpower, you can force yourself into an optimistic outlook and an optimistic viewpoint. So I can tell you from personal experience that you can experience or embrace an optimistic outlook at least two different ways that I've learned. One is to become a contrarian and to turn your back on the views of the world and go against the grain of the crowd, which will usually lead you to a positive, optimistic outlook. And the other is to not so much be so much of a contrarian, but rather just look for the positive, look for the silver lining, ask yourself constantly not to be negative. And I think both options work. Both of them probably require about the same amount of effort, and they're both very intentional. Both are very intentional actions. Either I'm going to be a contrarian against the grain, go against what society says about everything, or I'm just going to look for the positive, look for the good. When your inclination is to say, this isn't good, this sucks, whatever, try to think this is a positive, this is a good thing. And then you have to try and honestly look and find a real positive point to something. So I think that's pretty much my message for you. Either be a contrarian, which will cause you to be optimistic because the world is so pessimistic, or just be optimistic. I suggest if you've never tried contrarianism before, I would recommend you at least look into that and give it a try, because there's so much wrong thinking and bullcrap that the world expresses and the crowd embraces that you really might actually get some benefit out of some contrarianism. And hey, since this kind of stuff appeals to you, you also may get something out of our weekly live stream on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. I go live for about an hour, and all of the regular viewers of this channel, we all get together, talk about what we're going through, how we got out into nature, how we tried to escape the stress of city living and living in the suburbs and getting out into green spaces. So join me right here on this channel at 8 p.m. this Wednesday night. I'll see you there. And I know everybody else who comes, we got a nice crowd of people who support each other. I know they'd all like to meet you too. So do that as well. All right. I'm going to finish my walk around this mound, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.